It's Thursday morning in the Chicago region, and I am having an extension or a continuation of an ongoing dialogue about the Course in Miracles with Barret Hedeen. And we're looking at the song uh, of prayer, which is a very, very beautiful part of the Course. How are you this morning, Barret?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Yeah, a little overcast day here, a little cooler August day than normal. You know, you think of August as sort of hot and sticky, and I think the high is somewhere near 70. I don't know. It's comfortable, so I'm enjoying the day so far.
Yeah, it's actually quite beautiful. And this time of year can go any direction. Usually it goes off the rails in the direction of 95 and 99% humidity. So this has definitely been a very benevolent summer we've had this year. We've only had a few really hot days, but it's been really a nice summer overall. And as we're progressing now toward the autumnal equinox, we will be seeing the apple harvest and then the pumpkins and all of the wonderful fruits of our labor, both metaphorically as well as literally.
It's true, and actually, I'm already starting to see that because we have this amazingly beautiful crabapple tree that in the spring is just alight with all these blooms. But right now, there's already some small apples, and some of them are even starting to turn red. So, yeah, I think the cool weather has tricked the trees, and they're already moving in that direction.
Yeah, actually, I noticed that, I take my daughter-in-law, Linda, to work every day, and I drop her off at the L station at Midway Airport, and the trees there are already starting to show those early tinges of turning leaves. And then as we move into mid-September, the breezes really start kicking in, and then October, the goblins and ghosts start showing up, which is kind of
Ooh.
yes, that's what makes it such a joyful event. We're able to reunite with all of our past indiscretions.
Yeah, and that's what love is, scaring the bejesus out of somebody.
Yeah, it frequently can be. And although what we want to do is actually scare it into them, I think
Oh.
the direction we're supposed to be going with there.
Well, that's our perfect transition because in the last couple weeks we've been talking about the section in the Song of Prayer called Forgiveness to Destroy, which is all about the kind of wrong-minded ways to use forgiveness. And today we're starting the next section, which is Forgiveness for Salvation. So this is really the Holy Spirit's version of forgiveness, which is more or less what forgiveness is all throughout the text and throughout the Course. It's how we really do forgiveness and how we step into that state of love, which usually doesn't have to be scared into us. It happens gently and joyfully, although we may sort of resist as long as we can. Yeah, but I'll get us started here today. Forgiveness for salvation has one form and only one. So this is just basically his contrast, because he, in the previous section, gave us about 4 different forms that forgiveness to destroy has. But forgiveness for salvation just has one. It does not ask for proof of innocence nor pay of any kind. It does not argue nor evaluate the errors that it wants to overlook. It does not offer gifts in treachery nor promise freedom while it asks for death. Would God deceive you? He but asks for trust and willingness to learn how to be free. He gives his teacher to whoever asks and seeks to understand the will of God. His readiness to give lies far beyond your understanding and your simple grasp. Yet he has willed you learn the way to him, and in his willing there is certainty. So this is the gentle path. This is the path of joy and peace. And again, there may be resistance to choosing this kind of forgiveness, but it is the way to actually experience the truth that lies within us.
Yeah, that's very true. And actually, this gets down to the fundamental level of erasing our belief that there is a past or a future, because that's the only reason that we would be inclined to put attributes to our forgiveness. The reality is that we really have to come to terms with the fact that none of this ever really happened. And that's what this directs us toward, is to have the experience of forgiveness that is wrapped up in an erasure of all of the past. And granted, we may have these memories of all of these fantasies that we had about other people and about ourselves. But the truth is, if you really look at it from the ground up, uh, it is a dream. And you can't be angry and frustrated and miserable with somebody who, um, you know, showed up in a dream that you had 6 years ago and chopped off your arm with an axe. That was a dream. And it's like, get over it. So that's really the way this whole process is working. And what it's trying to do is to get us out of our attachment to time and to material experience. So it's effectively changing us on a lot of different levels. It's changing our perception of those around us. But more fundamentally, it's changing our understanding of who we are and where we're actually in existence at. And that is not in this world.
It's true. All the Course's teaching boils down to an identity issue, that we have a mistaken identity. And that, as you're saying, Chris, is the identity that we are a body and that we are this mortal figure in this world of space and time. That is not the truth. It's never been the truth. It never will be the truth. It's impossible that we actually are actually able to be injured. This is the sort of radical teaching that Jesus is giving us, that what we really are is immortal. It is invulnerable. It is immune to suffering of any kind. And obviously that's a very advanced state to achieve, but it's something we are all going to achieve. And it's something that is promised to us because the end is actually already done. So there's no question mark at the end of A Course in Miracles. It ends with a period.
Yes, or an exclamation mark. That little Yahoo symbol for those of you still using Yahoo email. Yahoo with an exclamation mark. So, continuing along, we've got this next paragraph that says, "You, child of God, the gifts of God are yours, not by your plans, but by his holy will. His voice will teach you what forgiveness is and how to give it as he wills it be. Do not then seek to understand what is beyond you yet, but let it be a way to draw you up where the eyes of Christ become the sight you choose. Give up all else, for there is nothing else. When someone calls for help in any form, he is the one to answer for you." And when it says he is the one, it's the Holy Spirit, the presence of the Christ, and that should be answering through you and on your behalf. All that you need do is step back and not to interfere. Wow, that really puts the ego in high jeopardy. So every time that we do an act of forgiveness on this level, you probably will notice the ego will kind of give you a pushback, will kind of grumble and grunt. Forgiveness for salvation is his task, and it is he who will respond for you. So once again, we're being conditioned to look at our identity, as you had said, Barret. It's the real identity that we share in common is to Christ. And we really have to let that identity overwhelm or completely uh, eradicate at some point this sense of self that we all carry around with us all day long. You know, it's that sense of self that causes you to fall into road rage and, you know, attack the neighbor and carry grudges about your boss and all of these other coincidental situations. But the truth is, right down at the bottom of it all, the Christ is who you are. And as long as you are trying to maintain this persona, it's going to become more and more and more of a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. For a while there, I thought maybe you were spying on me when you were talking about road rage and attacking your neighbor. I was like, is he talking? Has he been watching my life or something?
Actually, I've been watching the mirror of our collective lives. Pretty much is systemic. All of us have the same issues. We just clothe them in different clothes.
Well, then you were talking about high jeopardy before, and I thought, wow, it was like that Alex Trebek, is he like smoking something?
Actually, I understand that he does have a tendency to indulge. So
I could see that after putting up with those Jeopardy contestants every day, you'd need a way to kind of take the edge off.
yeah, absolutely. Plus, you know, I mean, he has all that information inside his mind at all times, and
It's
you
true.
ask him a question, and he can pull the rabbit out of the hat. And
Yeah, not everyone knows that Alex Trebek actually writes all the questions because he just knows everything. But that's how it works.
that's pretty much it. You know, I guess he is a man who has an amazing memory, and we all have an amazing memory, but it's you know, it's up to us as to how we use it. And I keep trying to keep the trash bin as empty as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, it kind of starts to smell up the joint. So, um, yeah.
There is a bud of humor there, but I think this whole conversation actually may be getting a little out of control here.
Well, I guess, we could at least say we didn't forget to laugh today. So that's good. That we got that check mark taken care of.
And that's a wonderful thing to share. The people who are listening to us are able to enjoy, you know, the nonsense that we put so much weight on in this world. It is all laughable. It is all nonsense.
Yeah, but I really do agree with your point too, that as we let go of our identity, as we let go of this self, of thinking that we are this meat body, as I've heard it described, this meat suit that we wear here in this world, we really are shifting into a greater sense of self. Just like the butterfly emerges from the chrysalis before it was a caterpillar, now it's a butterfly. It's a better form of life. Really, as we let go of our belief that this individual self is our identity, we are emerging into a more expanded form of life. And it's a better way to live because it doesn't have as much suffering, it doesn't have as much pain, it doesn't have as much condemnation and judgment. Um, you know, I can only imagine how I would be feeling right now with the whole Trump administration if I hadn't had the course in my life. I would probably be, biting all my fingernails and, sitting on the edge of my seat, just, on pins and needles. But to be honest, I've been mostly peaceful, even with all the craziness that's happening in our political system. Why? Because more and more I'm getting what we're saying. This world is not real, right? Now, obviously, I want the best thing to happen here. I want people to be happy, and I don't think that being in the hands of the Trump administration is going to lead in that direction. But at the same time, I don't have to give away my peace because of what's happening here in the world. I don't have to. It reminds me of a saying. Someone asked the Dalai Lama about the situation with China, and basically he's been talking against that whole occupation, his whole life. but someone said something like how could he wish the Chinese, China well or something, because he's always like wishing them well, even when he's saying please stop occupying Tibet. Um, and he said something like, they've already taken my country. Should I let them take my peace of mind as well? And it was a really powerful line, right? And I think all of us can really learn from that, and try to live our lives with that as the basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And to know that there is a higher force scripting the movie, even though we started the movie um, immediately with that first mad thought, nonetheless, God has been actively, or agents of God, I guess you could say, which is God, have been actively influencing the course of history, so that ultimately we are forced to, you know, challenge the ideas and the experiences that we're having. So um, it's, pretty much a well acknowledged fact that Tibetan Buddhism would have remained very encapsulated in Tibet, but for the influence of China attacking Tibet. And that was like creating a virus and setting it free in the world. All of a sudden, Tibetan Buddhism becomes the most prominent uh, type of Buddhism, and it spreads prolifically in all directions. So, out of the madness and out of the insanity and out of the horrors that we experience in this world, there's always an outcome that is designed by uh, the Creator. And that outcome is what we have to put our attention on, even if we can't see it in the moment. We have to know that God, in His wisdom, is moving us in a specific direction for a reason.
Yeah, and I've been feeling a lot lately that there's a real effortlessness that comes in as we really embrace our purpose. As we, I was sharing with someone the image of the conveyor belt that they have um, at the airport. The walkways that are just moving walkways. All you have to do is step on, and then it just takes you where you need to go. You don't need to do anything. And at times our life can be like that too. Even maybe while we're doing things, we have this sense of it really all being done, and there's a real peacefulness, a real joyfulness, a sense of no worries around all of it. And yeah, again, like who wouldn't want that, right?
It definitely is significantly better as well as different from the world most of us are engaged in. Absolutely.
So yeah, why don't I just kind of keep us rolling here? Next paragraph, it says, "Do not establish what the form should be that Christ's forgiveness takes." So just what we're just talking about. He knows the way to make of every call a help to you, as you arise in haste to go at last unto your Father's house. Now can He make your footsteps sure, your words sincere, not with your own sincerity, but with His own. Let Him take charge of how you would forgive, and each occasion then will be to you another step to heaven and to peace. So yeah, no worries.
Exactly. The thing I like about this particular paragraph is that it really encapsulates the way the course was written. And the course has a very distinct type of dialogue that was created and shared with us. And that dialogue is just different enough so that it actually causes us to stop and look at the words and listen to the words in a little bit different fashion. But if you're picking up a book at the bookstore, it's probably going to give you something that is more contemporary jargon. And you'll read it and understand it and have fun with it, but it doesn't really penetrate the way that the Course does. And this particular paragraph, I think, beautifully illustrates how these thoughts go beyond the normal barriers that we all have instilled in our consciousness and cause us to think at a little bit different pace and to absorb at a little bit different rate. So that's why I really like paragraphs like this that pop up.
Yeah. As many people know, there is an iambic pentameter throughout much of the scribing of the course, and it has a sort of Shakespearean style of language, which again is very beautiful, but it's also a little bit more timeless, as you said, Chris, than the sort of modern day, English, because that English keeps changing. Whereas the Shakespearean, even if it's a little hard to understand, we can still read Shakespeare, even though it was written hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and we can still understand it. So I think there is sort of a timeless nature, and the course often will draw us into that sense of timelessness, where we know the deeper truth, because it's not an intellectual idea that the course is trying to get us to have. It's an experience that the course is leading us towards, and it's always an experience of our truth. It's always an experience of God's love, and that's where He's pointing us, and that so all of these different elements come together in this really perfect synchrony in order to lead us to where we're going, which is again where we already are, but we're just not always aware of it.
Exactly, and iambic pentameter is an interesting pace, because the pace that you fall into when you're reading iambic pentameter exactly correlates with the beat of the human heart. So because of that arrhythmia that you generate with the words, it somehow opens up a place within you that is a little bit deeper than the normal level of life that we arrive at. But moving on to the next paragraph here, it says, "Are you not weary of imprisonment? God did not choose this sorry path for you. What you have chosen still can be undone. For prayer is merciful and God is just. His is a justice He can understand, but you cannot as yet. Still will He give the means to you to learn of Him, and know at last that condemnation is not real and makes illusions in its evil name. And yet it matters not the form that dreams may seem to take. Illusions are untrue. God's will is truth, and you are one with Him in will and purpose. Here all dreams are done." And I really, again, appreciate the way this idea is reinforced over and over again, that we are not separate from God. And any illusion of that is self-imposed. We have imagined ourselves doing hideous things that caused us to fall into a state of shame. It reminds me of the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve had their adventure with the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God comes walking in the garden in the evening, and when I was looking around, and he says, "Adam, Eve, where are you?" And they kind of slither out of the bushes, and they have manufactured clothing for themselves because they feel a sense of shame. And when God says, "Well, what have you been doing here?" Adam says, we were ashamed. We were naked. And so we wanted to clothe ourselves. And God says, "Well, who told you that you were naked?" And that's the salient line in the whole dialogue there, that whole discussion, is that God didn't tell us we were naked, so we're not naked. And we have to get to a point where we comprehend that on the deepest level of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I always thought maybe you were a closet nudist, and now it's been confirmed.
Yes, well, but since there is no nakedness, and I am not a body, I have started down that journey to liberate myself from that illusion, I feel like we can all be fully transparent in the garden of earthly delights.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Let me know when you set up the camp. I'll come hang out with you too.
Absolutely. And it'll be one of those that has 24-hour monitors going, so everything will be captured.
Live streamed on the internet.
And there will be nothing hidden from any of us.
All right, there we go. There we go. No, no private thoughts, right?
Exactly. That eliminates even the tiniest concern about having a private thought.
Oh boy. Well, we keep having fun here, so I'm glad about that.
Yes. And we are coming up to the top of the hour here. We've finished the first 4 paragraphs of this next section. So shall we convene in a week to polish this one off?
I think so. I think so. We'll do part 2 of Forgiveness for Salvation next time, and yeah, I think as a reminder for everyone, just to remember that you can enjoy life. Like sometimes life looks really heavy and hard and painful, and just reminding yourself that there is a way to enjoy, and even if it seems like you could just enjoy a fragment of life, find that fragment and enjoy it. Right? Give yourself that gift, because you're worthy of good things. You're worthy of love and kindness, as we all are. And just know that as you go through your life, that yeah, you can be happy. It's okay.
Yes, absolutely. And down underneath the bottom of all of it is the recognition that you and God are seamlessly connected. You are in no way even a hair's breadth apart from that which is perfect and eternal. So we will be coming together in a week for another edition of The Miracle Within. Get out there and share the love, pass the love around, and we'll be speaking with you soon.
All right. Look forward to it, Chris. You have a good one.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.